once again, I really want to welcome you to this program today. And as you are aware, and we are in a very challenging time, and a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknown. And in Nigeria today, we are all on lockdown in almost every part of the country. And the pandemic, COVID-19, has really we have a geometric increase on a daily basis. And but in all of this, life still has to go on. We still have to do what we need to do. Quite a number of employees are working from home. A lot of names: teleworking, remote working. So whatever name that is called, it's what is currently going on. So in the midst of all that, there are a few things, quite a lot of things that employees are still required to do. And there are issues that relate to medical well-being, psychology, and you still need to lead your team on a day-to-day basis. And so when you look at all that is going on, we just have to be hopeful in terms of where we are going to. And so that is why we decided as an academy to roll out a series, or what we call the COVID-19 series. And so last week, Wednesday, we commenced with, and so we were able to explore from the perspective of emotional intelligence. And we look at, a lot of areas that we thought might be very useful to employees at this time. And so we took the time to look at, the brain itself. At this time, there are a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And so we just had to look at things like the brain, the cortisol. We also look at flow, how employees can actually continue to be present in the life of their subordinates at this time. But at the end of that program last week, I mentioned that emotional intelligence is a great skill, and understanding it from the part of your emotions is also very good. But what we found in literature and research is that emotional intelligence alone is not enough. It's not enough. And so there are a lot of skill sets, a lot of behaviors that employees would need, particularly at this critical time. And so one of those skills, behaviors that we think would be good for you to include in your repertoire would be a transformational leadership skill. And we were able to tie transformational leadership skills to the emotional intelligence skills that you already have. Like I also said last week, by the end of the day, I'm still going to tell you whether the emotional intelligence skills will be enough, or whether you will still need more skills. And so we're going to do that. And so please, as we move ahead, please, the chat button, please, we're going to utilize that. My co-host today, Mr. Okilo, is going to really be looking at that. So if you have any question, please just pop it up right in the chat. Just click the chat button and go to the chat window and drop it there. We'll be ready to answer all your questions with regard to the topic that we have today. And so without further ado, I would proceed immediately to share my slide for this program. So thank you very much. And I will say welcome once again. This is it's a time that from a psychological point of view, where people have a lot of different mental states. A lot of people are afraid of unknown. Quite a number of us, we have jobs today. But to be very frank, the uncertainty is that we don't even know where we are going to be tomorrow. Quite a number of companies in Nigeria today are still able to pay salary. But what we continue to hope, so I will continue to hope for the best, is that we are able to address this COVID-19 pandemic swiftly, and so that we can get on with our normal life. But as Dr. Anthony Fauci, an expert in pandemic disease in America, said that life might not be the same again, even when COVID-19 is over. And so it's good for us to be building some kind of competencies at this time, so kind of skill set. In this part of the world, quite a number of us have not been used to using doing virtual training. Like I said last week, that was actually the first time I was running that emotional intelligence training via a virtual platform. And so our lives right now, positively, we hope, will be influenced, whether in terms of education, in terms of the workplace and all that. And so I am hoping, because we have to hope for the best and prepare for the worst, that this training is going to make quite a few impact. So let me move straight on into the general housekeeping for the day. So all participants will be muted throughout the duration of the program to ensure the best audio quality for all. However, the host will grant access as necessary, particularly the interchange between myself and my co-host. Then secondly, on joining the webinar, we expect please mute your mic and turn off your video. I can still see a particular video on. Please, if you can put your video off, I would really appreciate that. Please. However, if I want you to answer any question, I may grant you access as we make progress in the course of the program. So we are recording today's webinar training, and we will share with all participants a link to the program, and the PDF of the presentation will also be shared like we did for last week. During the presentation, if you encounter any audio issue, please refresh your browser and check your computer's audio setting. You can also log out and log back in if you run into technical issues. Please submit your questions anytime during the webinar training using the chat box, which you can access by clicking the chat button just below your screen. And so use headphones, which we always advise. We hope that everybody, so that you can get the best from this program. And so I think that with that, we will move straight away to, so this is the program we are running for the benefit of those who haven't seen it. It's Mastering Transformational Leadership in a COVID-19 pandemic time. And so one of the reasons this program is very dear to my heart is it was actually my dissertation. So I'm trying to show you, this is my dissertation that I did. SMC, Swiss Management Center, University in Switzerland, dissertation for my Doctor of Business Administration. I work on the effect of transformational leadership on employee job satisfaction and organizational commitment. And so it's a topic that is so dear to my heart, and that I worked for about 8 years now, and I'm continuing to be working on it. And so I believe I'll be able to share little of the knowledge that I've been able to acquire over the course of the time I've been conducting research on transformational leadership. So for a lot of us can connect with this. This is Anthony Village bus stop on that bridge in Lagos. So what I want us to do here is I want I want to throw a question about how I want that question to be answered. Would be for if your birthday, because we can't really, it's more of a qualitative question, and we can ask everybody that is in this webinar to answer this question. So I will want those of us who have birthdays in March and April to just give us a perspective. This is Anthony Village bus stop in Lagos. For those of us who are familiar with Lagos, I just want those that have their birthdays, that had their birthdays in March, and those that had their birthdays in April, and also those that will be having their birthdays in the course of this month, April. I want you to go to the chart and put what is your perspective of this photo that you are seeing in terms of the scene that you are seeing in the popular Anthony bus stop. So those that had their birthdays in March and April, I just want you to give me next 30 seconds. Just give your perspective in terms of what do you see? What does it tell you? So thank you very much. Just the next 30 seconds, please. If your birthday was March and April. Okay. So maybe I'll add February, January. So it's your birthday, January to April. So if your birthday falls within January, February, March, April, please get just what do you see? Particularly those that are familiar with Lagos and what you used to know about Lagos, Anthony Village. Okay, so thank you very much. I saw a question. Somebody said, can I access the side-by-side view? I said the side-by-side is go to top of your screen. You will see an option like, you will see view option. Okay, so why I asked that question was because the scene that we were all used to in Lagos, the buzz of Lagos, the traffic that we are all used to, most times, more often than not now, they are no more. And it tells us a lot of things about the times that we are in, and that these are it's not an ordinary time, it's actually an extraordinary time. So let's move to, this one is also a scene in Abuja, a street in Abuja. And if you see the scenery right now, you find out that it's also very quiet. And you can see the calmness. If you drop a pin right there, it's going to make a very loud noise. So this next video also is a 110 bed isolation center at Onikan, also in Lagos, in Nigeria. It also tells us that these are really, we are in a crisis time, and some would even want to say we are in a wartime. And so when you are at war, and even during the, the Second World War, some of the people that experienced it saying that I think the life we are actually experiencing now in terms of the impact of COVID-19 on the global landscape is like never, it's something that has never been seen before. And so it tells us, particularly those of us, many of us that are, right here, it's possible that we've never seen anything of this magnitude before. And so it tells us that we are really in a very, on what we call an uncharted territory right now. But, and it means that we need a lot of leadership, you know, to show leadership, to demonstrate leadership, particularly transformational leadership at this time. So, so for a lot of us, if you will find out that what we have here in terms of this pandemic, it started as a medical challenge, was a medical issue. But we can all see that the crisis has gone far beyond the medical aspect of our lives. Is got into you know, it's got into issues relating to what do you call it, financial, economy. It's got into education. It's got into religious life. Quite a number of us, we are not able to even, you know, go physically to our religious houses, our religious institutions, churches, mosque. And it has now made us to be doing what you would call live streaming of church services. And for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been, you know, joining my church service via Instagram and YouTube. So it tells you, and from a psychological point of view, is you know, particularly for us that are working class parents, we are very much used to the life where we are at work and our children are at school. And, you know, we are now confronted with a situation where we have to work from home. And while at the same time, we also have to take care of the kids. And a lot of bills have to be paid. And the issue of, you know, a lot of us right now, maybe we can do little of aerobics at home, but we are not able to do exercises. And what it means is that, you know, likelihood that, you know, our emotional well-being, you know, physical well-being, psychological well-being would face some challenges at this time, and rightly so. And so it's a time that we believe that, you know, leaders, particularly in organizations, will be able to pay due attention to quite a number of the areas that hitherto they don't even pay attention to. And so I won't really want to go into the details in terms of the current position of the global pandemic, COVID-19, but it's good to always reflect in terms of where we are briefly. Few weeks ago, what we heard was that maybe just few numbers of, you know, few persons in Lagos and Abuja were the cases that were recorded in Nigeria, and the index case being the Italian, which was the first index case in Nigeria. And but today, as at yesterday, Nigeria has recorded it recorded 117. As at by yesterday, Nigeria recorded additional 117 cases of COVID-19, which brought the total to 782 in Nigeria. And just last week, we were just like maybe 200 and something. And so what it tells us is that we might actually be at the very beginning of this, you know, challenge, and that which there's a whole lot of vocabulary that has come up right now, which I'm going to mention. And so we might actually be at the very beginning of that. But different countries have their different, what you would call status at this time. We have different countries. And so from a global perspective, the case as at yesterday was 2,564,000 thousand plus in terms of number of cases globally, and the death rate, the number of deaths globally stood as at yesterday at 175. And in the United States, you can see the number of cases there, which was 816,000 and over 43 deaths. And so when you look at this, like the United States said that it's a number that if you look at even the crisis that they faced, which was September 11, it was over 3 million people, over 300,000 people, over 300,000 people that were actually died in the twin bombing at the World Trade Center and the rest. And so when you look at where we are right now, you find out that it's very shocking at the level that we are. And so with this, it gives you a perspective that there are a lot of things we need to do as individuals. Number one is that we need to take care of ourselves. Number two is that we need to also pay attention to our colleagues in the workplace, and it's very important. So the facts are obvious. And so let's move on to what we can do about it, particularly from a leadership perspective. And so there are a lot of things. I will leave some of those that relates to the medical individuals. But what can we do from individual perspective in terms of showing leadership at this time? And so with that, we will move to why we are here today. And so there are a lot of vocabularies that we are all associated with right now, and some of them are new. Few weeks ago, I don't think quite a number of us were familiar with these vocabulary: shelter in place, social distancing, community spreading, asymptomatic, pre-symptomatic, contact tracing, teleworking, remote working, vulnerable population, the vulnerable group, immunity and herd immunity, flattening the curve. So these are some of the new words that have come up. And so I am happy to, if you can go to the chart, if you want me to highlight any of these, you can put it there and I'll be able to explain that when we have a break. So let's really continue to really go deeper into why we are here today. So the goals for today is to understand the full range model, the full range model. And I will try to share light on when we say the full range model, the full range. What does it really mean from a leadership perspective when you say full range? What does it mean? Try to understand what transformational leadership is and the step to improve transformational leadership. Understand how to use transformational leadership to behaviors to impact subordinates and colleagues. And we'll be able to talk about some of the experts who have helped to discover transformational leadership and the importance that they attach to transformational leadership. And so this is our goal for today. By the time we are able to do that, it was our intention to also talk about what you would call transactional leadership and explain the dimension. But what we came to realize is that the 1.5 hours won't be enough to do all that I would have wanted to do. So we will focus on just one part of what we call the full range leadership model, which is transformational leadership for today. And so there are 8 sessions that we have planned, like I've said, but the bit of transactional leadership, I will take my time to explain the concept and what transactional leadership is, what we need to look out for, how we need to be careful, what we need to watch out for with regard to transactional leadership, as we continue to try to be better transformational leaders. But in terms of the dimensions, we will not be treating it in detail in the course of this program. So Lazarus Fair, which is sometimes is also taken as one of the transformational leadership dimensions, and sometimes it's treated as a separate dimension of leadership, would also not be treated in detail. But I will take my time to explain what it is and how you can, move from that kind of leadership and move to area. Then I'm going to share a document with you as we progress on the falling domino effect, which is more like a cascading effect of leadership. And for those of us who were in the program last week, we talked about the role of the cortisol and how leaders need to understand the cortisol, and that if you understand the cortisol, you would be able to know when your subordinates have expressing some emotions, particularly during these crisis time. And so emotions which might have resulted from accumulated stress, because I said the adrenal gland, which is where the cortisol is always on the on mode. And I also talk about the responsibility of the leader within the team or within an organization to move the subordinates into the flow state, that state where employees perform at their best and where they feel at their best. And we talked about that. So we're going to look at the falling domino effect, just a way of trying to tell us that leaders have a lot of role to play with regard to when you are navigating through crisis time. For those persons that might be here who are risk practitioners and a crisis manager practitioners, and they will understand, in a crisis time, the role that the leader would have to play, whether be it a country, be it a state, and we can see the role that Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, that is playing with regard to the management of COVID-19 in Lagos. And so it's something that I will share the document. It's a paper that was written by a great scholar in the area of transformational leadership. And so at the end of the day, if we have time, we'll just take a very simple case study. We have our group, we'll split ourselves into a group, then I'll be able to share the case study for us. Maybe this case study is going to take about maybe 10 minutes if we have time. Okay, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Thank you for gracing us with your presence, for participating. And please stay safe and know that these times are challenging times. And if you have colleagues, if you have parents, if you have those that are in the vulnerable group, speak to them. If you have uncles, extended relationship, I think this is the time for, even though we are maintaining social distancing, you can still call. People psychologically, people really need people to speak with them at this time. Please do that. And if you can also extend a little financial aspect in terms of palliative to your loved ones, no matter how small, I will encourage that. And please stay safe. And I hope to see you next week, Wednesday, same time, for the Authentic Leadership Program. And I will say thank you, and God bless you, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much, everyone.